Welcome to Basic Skills. Today we're going to be talking about how to raise meat rabbits in the summertime. It's quite a bit different. The reason it is because I'm really trying to raise rabbits how they're designed to be raised. So instead of just keeping them inside all summer like most people would, I actually bring them out and put them on pasture in cages. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what I feed them during the summer. They're supposed to eat about 65% grass, so I just stick them in cages that I can move around on the grass, and then I find that's an easy way to get them out there. It gets them out in the sunshine and everything. And then to supplement, because they can only eat 65% grass, to make up the rest, I use rabbit pellets mixed in about half and half with oats. What I do for disease control and prevention is pretty much the same as in the winter. I try to get them lots of sunshine. If they are getting sick, apple cider vinegar and diatomaceous earth, that'll help keep them worm free. And then don't move them back on the same spot for around 2 weeks, because that'll give the parasites enough time to, it'll mess up their cycle. They won't be able to get back into the rabbits and cause problems. So you want to make sure you leave enough time between when the rabbits are on the same piece of ground so it breaks up the parasite life cycle. Breeding rabbits in the summer is exactly the same as in the winter. They still have a 30-day gestation period or around there. And you take the doe to the butt. He's going to mount on her, ride her around, and then if he kind of curls up and falls off, she's bred most of the time. Then you try her again about a week later, and if she won't let him breed again, then she's most likely bred, and you know that 30 days from that first breeding date, she's going to have her babies. And you just give her a nest box in the upstairs of her cage there, and she'll make the nest and everything. If she does have them downstairs, you can just put the nest box down there and move the babies into there. Build the nest for her. Just put the hay in there, and then put a bunch of fur in there, put the babies in there, put the fur back on top. When it comes to weaning your babies, you want to do that at about 6 weeks. This industry standard is 5 weeks, so that's about the earliest you can do it is 5 weeks. But I like to give them an extra week. Seems to give them a little bit of a boost. And then you move them off into another cage, and you can butcher them around 13 weeks. Younger than that, they're going to be a little bit small. Older than that, they might start getting tough. So around there is about when you do it. And you can rebreed them when the babies are a week before you wean. You can rebreed your doe again, just to make it more efficient so you get more litters per year. As you can see here, the cages that I use for my does are just kind of an A-frame type cage. They've got large chicken wire on the floor to keep the rabbits from digging their way out, and so I can move them easier. And they've got an upstairs with wire on the floor, so if something were to tear into the cage, the rabbit could hop into the upstairs, and it'd be a lot harder to catch up with it. They're super simple to build, and I just put the water on the one side and the feed dish on the other side, and out the back there's two 2x4s with a old push mower tire on each one, just so that it'll roll around and I can back up and move it however I want. So if you're building cages like this, there's a couple things that I've really appreciated about some of my cages and not appreciated about a few of the other ones. I really like the door being on the same side as the handle that you're pulling it, because that way you don't have to walk around the other side of the cage all the time. Door latches, I like having a falling bar latch. Those seem to work really well. And then the other thing is the upstairs you got to make sure it's big enough to fit your nest box in there, because that's where you're going to want them to kindle and make their nests. So if your nest boxes don't fit up there, it's not much good to have them have their babies up there. This is one of my butt cages. This is definitely the best design that I've been able to come up with. And so the whole roof is actually the door, which makes it super easy to load and unload rabbits out of this one for breeding your does or whatever. And it's also narrow enough that you can follow the other cages and just get what they missed with the bucks. Makes it super easy to clean up anything you've missed. They're just kind of a box with a lid that shuts and chicken wire again on the bottom and a little thing to skid them, and they only weigh 4 pounds, so you can just pick it up and move it to a completely different spot if you need to. So the cages for your growing rabbits, what I have is just what I call sliders. My brother designed them a few years ago. We built a whole bunch of them. They just are narrow at the back, high at the front, and the roof ends up being really the wall at the back. It kind of doubles and makes it a little bit more efficient for building materials. They just slide along the ground, that's why we call them sliders, on little skids on each corner. The downfalls of these cages are that the bottom is wooden slats that are about 1.5 inches apart, so smaller rabbits will squeeze through there and run off on you. That's probably the biggest downfall. A couple of the other smaller ones would be that they're not nearly as maneuverable because they don't have wheels. It's hard to move them around, and we really haven't found a good latch system to hold them shut. So they're good cages, they've just got a few difficulties that we have to work around all the time. As you can see here, the roofs are a little bit odd. They're just different pieces of scrap tin that we got for free from a guy that sells tin to people, and so if they need a 15-foot piece and he's just got 16-foot pieces, he'll end up cutting a foot off the end and it'll just go to waste. So we just went there and got all the extra pieces off them, and so we just kind of used them kind of like shingles. So you put this one on and that one, they just overlay each other and the water just runs right off. And so it's super cheap and you still get a good sheet metal roof.